morning, everyone, and welcome to the, I guess good afternoon now, technically, the September 18th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville, September 18th. Give for Good Day in Louisville, and of course, Rotarians' theme this year is Unite for Good, and Rotarians always give for good. As a matter of fact, we had nearly a dozen this week, serving 65 plus students as we kicked off our new Rotary Scholar Program year in Iroquois and Western. So that's awesome. All right, today our invocation, one of the best darn presidents ever, Alice Bridges, principal at AOB Consulting, and she is a Paul Harris Fellow +7.
Good afternoon. For today's invocation, I call your attention to one of Rotary's 7 areas of focus: promoting peace. As a humanitarian organization, peace is a cornerstone of our mission. We believe when people work to create peace in communities, that change can have a global effect. In this spirit, I offer the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
Thank you, Alice. That is truly one of the great prayers ever. To lead us in the pledge and the Rotary 4-way test, another Superstar Hall of Famer, current Rotarian of the Year with her husband, Mary Ellen Martin. She's the co-chair of the International Service Committee and a major donor.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now let us read together the 4-way test. Is it
Is
the
it
truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Mary Ellen. Rotarians, if you have a guest today, please come to the microphone over here and introduce yourself first, and then your guests, their name, role, and organization, and guests, please stand at your seat while you're being introduced.
Good afternoon, President Ken and fellow Rotarians. I'd like to introduce my sister, Debbie Fisher, who is, stand up, Debbie, please. She is a retired VP from Young Brands and Timber Sealy.
Mr. President, I have with me Claire Hansman, my colleague at the College of Business Graduate Programs. We've had her on our team for 2 months, and we're really excited to
My guest is Jeremy Connor. I work with him at LBFC. He's a CPA based in Brentwood, Tennessee.
I would like to introduce John Wiegand. Sorry about that. We know each other online, but I don't think I've learned how to pronounce your name. He is the Business Development Manager at Advanced Business Solutions. This is your second. Welcome back.
Ken. I'm Mike Richardson. I'm actually the treasurer of the Rotary Club of Sarasota. Three of my friends have come to join us from Hyperion Motors. Angela Tanafaris, Tony Ramirez, and Dr. Lawrence Luber. Hyperion is currently working with NASA to manufacture a hydrogen combustion engine that creates its own fuel from water. These engines produce over 1.3 megawatts of power in a 24-inch cube. Perfect for rocket ships, data centers, and commercial vehicles. Some of you may recall Angela came to Glenview a few years ago, and I'm pleased to say that he's coming back in December and bringing the car. So, look forward. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, all of our guests, and Angela, looking forward to hearing you speak on this car, coming in and maybe driving. After the meeting, where Delene is sitting is the What is Rotary table, and some learned people are going to talk to you about Rotary for a few minutes. If you want to go over and learn a little bit more, you're welcome to. We have some Rotarians in the spotlight to celebrate today. Dee Tran was honored as a Small Business Advocate of the Year finalist by the National Small Business Association at America's Small Business Fly-In in Washington, D.C. Alyssa Gray, Jennifer Hancock, and Vaughn Smith were named 2025 Nonprofit Visionary Leaders by Louisville Business First. Michael Washburn with Kentucky Waterways Alliance was chosen as the 2025 Alden Fellow by the Community Foundation of Louisville, which includes a $10,000 grant to pursue transformational professional development opportunities. Kim Hallbauer is featured in the August-September issue of the Lane Reports. David Galognia's family was featured as the Family of the Month in Stroll Anchorage magazine. And congratulations to Renee Brown. He was recently inducted into the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels. As mentioned earlier, today is Give for Good Day, the region's most generous day of giving, powered by the Community Foundation of Louisville, and lots of Rotary connections. If you want to scroll through those pages to learn about the tremendous work that is being done by all these organizations in our community. Please join us Tuesday, September 30th at 4 o'clock for an exclusive behind-the-scenes VIP experience at the world's most accessible museum, the Dot Experience, scheduled to open late next year. Details on our website and in Sparks. Also join us Saturday morning, October 4th. We'll be joining other Rotary clubs along the Ohio River for a litter cleanup event. Your spouse, kids, nieces, nephews, neighbors, co-workers, all involved to spend an hour or two with us in the meaningful service. Next Wednesday is the deadline to sign up, so we know you're coming and you can get a free t-shirt. See Alex Novak or the link on our website. Is Alex here? Stand up. There he is. Remember, our committee fair will be in the room across the hall before and after our regular meeting October 9th. If you're looking for a place to serve or just be more engaged and meet other members, you'll want to attend, so plan a little extra time on the front end, back end, or both that Thursday, October 9th. Our next new member service project will be Tuesday, October 14th at SOS. Come have fun, pack some medical supplies, and get to know fellow members. It's really a great opportunity, and it's an amazing operation that Denise Sears, fellow Rotarian, runs. Save the date, Friday, October 17th for the 9th annual West Louisville Economic Mobility Summit, a partnership between our club and the Louisville Central Community Centers. This theme this year will be Prosperity Through Peace. And stay tuned for a very exciting announcement about our partnership with the 5th Annual Canopy Good Business Summit, November 6th at the Kentucky International Convention Center. There are other service opportunities with Recenter Ministries next week and Imagination Library. So just go to the Sparks that just came out and look through. You can visit globalrotary.org anytime. Scroll all the way down the homepage, see Rotary in the spotlight as well of upcoming events. There it is. Always be sure to follow us online as well on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, YouTube. All right, we create events for each of our weekly meetings on Facebook and LinkedIn, so mark yourself attending, share, and more importantly, use the invite feature to send direct messages to the connections you think would enjoy the program. And note that you will still need to be registered as your guest. They will be. It's been exciting to see so many new members being inducted and introduced recently. We had a great idea by Jay Mallory at our board meeting yesterday to have you all stand so we know where you are. I've seen a lot of you. So connect with these folks after the meeting and see how we can help them along the way. All right. Because of all of these new members, we thought we would bring some veterans to the podium each week so that you can meet the folks you may not know. And this week it's Ashley Brower, the chair of the Speakers Committee and co-chair of the Rotary Leadership Fellows, and she was Rotarian of the Year in 22 and 23.
Thank you, President. I'm Ashley Brower, and they just asked me to give a little bit about my background and my professional journey. So I was born in Illinois, grew up mostly here, but I did not go to high school. I graduated from Glasgow. So don't pull that against me. Had you stayed, I would have graduated from Oakland County. I started college in UK, decided to do journalism, and moved to Western, where I graduated with degrees in broadcast news and psychology, and then got my MBA here at UofL. I started my career as a news producer in Sioux City, and then Des Moines, and then back here in Louisville. Moved back in 2007, and then transitioned to PR and marketing communications in 2012. I founded my own firm, Next Strategic Communications, in 2022, and I work with organizations and individuals all across the U.S., helping them amplify their message and get in front of the right audience to drive results. I also do a lot of executive communications training and speak. For hobbies, I read a lot. I do a lot of Pilates, go to 5 Wellness Club most days and do all of the fun things there, and we're huge fans of raising global family members. I came to Rotary in 2013 as a leadership fellow. I did the 3-year fellowship and have stayed since. I am currently, as President Ken said, the Speaker Committee Chair and co-chair of the Rotary Leadership Fellows Program. Previously been a board director and chair of the Communications Committee and Emerging Leaders Committees. So I'm so grateful to be here, have the opportunity to network with all of you, get to know all of you, and certainly serve the community alongside of you. So, here's to continuing amplifying all of the great work that Rotary does here and across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. You've done a great job for several years now, heading the Speakers Committee. We've been delighted each week with who you select in your team. And I got to be a colleague of Ashley's, Wave TV for a time, and to be a producer in television news. Highly engaged, difficult, stressful job. She did as well as anyone I ever worked with. So, no surprise that she continues to do great things. Now I'd like to invite to the podium Melanie Higgs. She's the Director of Graduate and Admissions at the University of Louisville College of Business, to introduce our speaker.
our speaker today. So I'd like to introduce to you today Dr. Jeff Guan. He's the Professor of Computer Information Systems, the Associate Dean for Programs at the College of Business at UofL. He holds a PhD in Computer Engineering. He brings extensive expertise in artificial intelligence, technology management, and digital transformation. Dr. Guan teaches courses on AI and technology management. He equips students with the skills to navigate and lead in technology-driven environments. His research focuses on the application of AI and the adoption of emerging technologies within organizations. He's recognized for his innovative ideas in the business community. He collaborates with businesses and institutions to integrate AI solutions into their operations and strategies. Welcome, Dr. Guan.
Thank you, Melanie. And Ashley asked me, do you need slides? I said, no. But now I think I'm regretting that I'm not having any slides because I didn't realize that Ray Strotman was going to come. And he always makes me nervous. So I'm with UofL, and I've been here for about 3 decades. And I don't know if you know, about 2 blocks from here, there's a hole in the wall place called Granville. And it's our Granville Tavern. It's a long tradition. I think it was started in 1912 or so. And it's a place that's frequented by professors. So before I start, I would like to share with you a conversation that took place at Granville between 3 professors. So the first professor is a professor of medicine, a doctor. The second one is a professor of civil engineering. And the third professor is a professor of computer science. So after a couple of black and tans, the conversation turns to whose profession is the oldest. At this point, the doctor, MD, started by saying, according to the Bible, Eve was created from a rib taken from Adam. And that certainly involved surgery. So therefore, my dear colleagues, mine is the oldest profession. At this point, the civil engineering professor gets excited and stands up and says, no, my dear doctor. Earlier in the book of Genesis, it is stated that the universe was created out of chaos. And that has to have been the most spectacular feat of civil engineering. So therefore, my colleagues, mine is the oldest profession. At this point, the computer scientist leans back in his chair, smiles, and asks, but who do you think created the chaos? So that's a common view held by our species whenever a new technology is introduced. And that's not the view that I espouse. That's not the view that is going to come through today with my talk. And what I would like to do today is to talk about how we should think about AI, not the detailed technologies, but I'm going to give you use cases, and also I want you to leave with the thought that it is really hard to stop the future. So, with that in mind, I think just so that we all understand what we mean when we say AI. So AI is really a technology that allows a machine to perform tasks, cognitive tasks, that are typically performed by humans. And say, for example, navigating traffic. And there are so many examples. I think you can all relate. And so the reason that AI is taking off, or has been taking off, is because the user base has exploded. And the user base has exploded because the technology has become so accessible and meaningful and relevant to so many people. So I'm going to start by giving you 3 use cases. So this, the first case was about HomeServe. It's a large home warranty company, and this was reported in the Wall Street. I think it's a Wall Street Journal about a year or so ago, and the article says HomeServe is a pioneer in adopting AI, and in particular, they talk about the adoption of AI during the sales process. So when a Homo sapien salesperson is talking to a customer on the phone, the AI will eavesdrop. And then, of course, the AI will make suggestions, unbeknown to the customer on the other side, that, hey, perhaps this is a great time to bring up this particular topic, or this particular product. You might actually, it would say, for example, our data suggests that you would have a greater chance of making a sale if you do it right now. So what HomeServe found out is that AI hasn't really helped the top 20% of the sales force, but it helped the other 80% a lot. Now, that's really important if you think about that, right? If it helps 80% of your workforce, I mean, when could you introduce a model, a technology, a strategy that improves the performance of 80% of your workforce? So that's why businesses are seriously looking at AI. So the second use case is about a company here in town, but I'm not going to mention the name, but it's out in town in Kentucky, in the area. But it's a boutique investment firm. And the person is a managing partner, and he and I met one day, and we talked about AI. And he manages about $4 billion. So in the investment business, it's probably not a big deal. And it is a big deal to me. I agree. And but he said 2 things he does on a regular basis. Number one, when he researches a company, he wants to know what the investment community thinks. Right? So he would go read their reports, their analysis, and so on and so forth. And then he also wants to know what the company says, because you have quarterly reports and so on and so forth, and all kinds of publications by the company. He says each task takes about 2 weeks by a financial analyst that is good, that is competent, experienced. About 2 weeks. And he said today, using Perplexity for about $20 a month, he can do both tasks within 2 hours by himself. All right, so there's a productivity gain, right? Obviously. But really, the bigger bang for the buck is that he said, this is what he said. He said, all of a sudden, I feel that I can compete with BlackRock. Think about that. Because he said, I couldn't compete with BlackRock in the past because BlackRock has an army of financial analysts. And they can get results much, much faster, high quality analysis. But now, the game has changed. So that's a big deal. So people tend to think about AI, the adoption of AI, or technology in general as what? Productivity gain, right? But also there's the redesign of existing work. In other words, how do you change the way you do things? And companies in Louisville are starting to do that. And of course, another one, so there's productivity gain, and then there's the redesign of existing work. But I think the biggest bang for the buck is going to be the design of new work. because this managing partner said, now I'm starting to think about new products and services that I can provide. And of course, there are entrepreneurs and innovators that are already coming up with all kinds of products. So this is the second use case. So, and the third use case is about individual proprietor, small business owner. And I don't know him, but I know his brother. His brother is a former student of mine, and he worked for Ford for 20 years as an IT professional. And then he got involved in the startup, sold the company successfully, great to him. And then of course, he decided to go into AI. And because of his IT background, he's felt very good. So he said, he's helping his brother. So he's building a so-called AI agent. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's a computer program that has a mind of its own to a certain extent. And what the agent does is that when his brother goes out prospecting a customer, the AI will eavesdrop. And so the entire conversation is going to be captured, but it goes way beyond that. So as he drives from this conversation to the office, AI will already have compiled a sales proposal using their product and services database. So by the time he steps into the office, the proposal is up there on the screen, a draft. So he goes in there, he makes a few changes, and then of course, it'll be sent to the customer, and AI will screen the responses from the customer and propose responses and so on and so forth. So this is a game changer. Again, it's enabling this small business owner to increase and expand his business. And this is what's happening here in Louisville. And you know that if it's happening in Louisville, it's already happened in California. Remember what Mark Twain says? He said, for Angelo, Mark Twain says that when the world comes to an end, he wants to be in Kentucky because everything in Kentucky happens 20 years later. But it's not that 20 years anymore. Probably 10, maybe 5. But it's still worth it to relocate to Louisville. So anyway, so these 3 use cases. I hope you can relate to that. And here at the University of Louisville, in particular the College of Business, we're in the business of developing the workforce for tomorrow, right? So we're trying to equip our students with the skills and necessary for tomorrow's work, but it's difficult to predict the future with any degree of accuracy. So I don't know if you know, there's I think his name is Kamara, I forgot his first name. He has made a famous statement in the last century that people tend to overestimate the impact of technology in the short run, but they tend to underestimate the impact of technology in the long run. And if you recall, right, around the turn of the century, people were giving up on technology, the internet technology, but that's when it really started to flourish. And so we have what we call the platform economy today. So this is really, I think, to look at this from a macro perspective, rather than from a technology perspective. In that the platform economy has emerged as a result of the internet technology. And so let me give you 2 examples. Uber. You've all taken rides with Uber or Lyft, right? Now, Uber is the largest taxi operator without owning a single vehicle. Now, who would have thought of that? I wish I had thought of that when I was in graduate school in the 90s. And Airbnb is the largest hotel operator without owning any single real estate. That's the kind of change that AI is going to bring. But this time, I think it's going to be much bigger and much faster because we have other technologies in play that are also developing very fast. In PSA, for example, Hyperion, right? You have guests. The company, it represents energy revolution, energy storage, right? Battery, you know about that battery now that lasts for almost 1,000 miles. People are developing the technology, and Hyperion, I don't know, it lasts for 10,000 miles per charge. So that I'm being facetious, I don't know. But the point is that there are other technologies in play. So life sciences. Now, have you heard about this? Google has bought a company from London called the DeepMind. DeepMind has many accomplishments, and one of them is to develop this AI program called AlphaFold. AlphaFold is a tremendous achievement. I highly recommend that you look it up tonight. And so proteins are the building blocks of human life or life. And so it is to understand how life functions. It is important for us to have an understanding of proteins. For example, I think cancer has to do with proteins. So therefore, it is important for us to understand proteins and their functions. But to do that, we need to know its structure. So a protein is a three-dimensional structure of a sequence of amino acids. Now, before AlphaFold, it takes about 4 years for a highly trained scientist to work on the discovery of the three-dimensional structure of a protein. DeepMind and its team was able to do that in 2022 in 18 minutes with the same level of accuracy. That's almost a million-fold reduction in cost. Not just the cost, the time, right? And so I was very impressed by the pledges of the Rotary Club. And the last one I remember is just a benefit ball. And this is a technology, AI. It's an enabler, and I think it's going to benefit all. So, for example, looking at the younger faces, Angelo here, so each generation might be able to ask the question: how would you let a person die if the person has only just cancer? Right. So this is what AI and advances in DNA, RNA, CRISPR, which is very much AI-based, can help us. It can really. So this is the impact in blockchain. That's another technology. So they all are going to work together. So now the difficult question is, how do you adopt AI? I know that many of you in the audience probably have years of business experience. You're great strategists. You're very successful in your career, and but AI is new, and this is one of the most frequent questions I encounter talking to business leaders. Is they don't have this gut feeling about AI. They said, I should be careful because it costs, right? And so this is one of the biggest challenge I think we face in terms of AI adoption. A helpful way to think about this is those 3 ways in which AI can benefit. Number 1, productivity gain. It's low-hanging fruit, right? Most companies, probably the employees, are using AI. And the second one is less obvious, but it's also, it can be achieved. And that's just redesign of existing work, right? Business re-engineering. And number 3, of course, is design new work. and the design and new work is coming up. So let me give you an example. It's like a shameless plug, but this is true. We have a new program in the college business that we just launched in the fall, which is called Sandbox. So students, instead of taking classes in the classroom, listening to lectures, writing notes, and so on and so forth, they would enroll in 18 hours over 2 semesters to create an innovation, right? To create a product. And it's just the only constraint is that it has to be a software product. And most students have chosen to create an AI product. Do-Gooder is one of the companies. And they already have, Henry knows that, they already have about close to about 20,000 users, and about 2,000 of those are paying customers. In other words, their revenue, based on their revenue, the company is valued at $500,000, and this is only the first month into the semester. Think about that. And so another company or student team is working on helping the baby boomers, the aging that generation, acquire the necessary nursing services. There's apparently a huge disconnect between the products and services that are available, that are offered by different businesses, and that are sanctioned by the federal government so that they get paid, right? That's very critical. But the problem is that people that are needing those services, they have great trouble identifying the type of service that they need. And once they acquire the service, how to stay so that they can continue to get the services covered. So that is a gap. And the student team, amazing 3 kids, 19, 20, and they identify the gap, and they're going to create a product. I forgot the name of the product. And that's going to address that issue. It can be done because we just demonstrated at the college business, former student, actually, David Colonial and his company, Slingshot, so they used the City Tech example. City government has tons of documents. People have trouble finding the right document in the right amount of time to answer their questions. They create that process, that fully functional information system for document retrieval and analysis in 6 hours. That would have normally taken 6 months, right? And so this is really important. So, and what's more important, people don't realize that, is that all of a sudden, it's not the IT professional who's driving the process. It's the product designer. It's the people who actually understand what the problem is. They are driving the process. Sarah Bautier is, I mentioned her name because she's a graduate from college business. And she was the lead presenter in that process. And this is a revolution, and it's taking place quietly, and it's here in Louisville, right? So Mark Twain probably turned a couple of times in his grave. And so think about that. It's affecting everybody, and so it's affecting every profession. Ken and a couple of Ashley, you're in the communications business, and communication is going to be important, and it will remain important for many, many years to come, because I know, and I think you probably will agree with me, that our species is not going to happen. And, you just have to communicate. You have to share your thoughts, with the exception of my wife. She says she read so therefore, communication is critical. We know that that's one of the skills we try very, very hard to cultivate in our students. But Ross Van Barger, who's the founder and CEO of Red Tab, the largest digital marketing firm in Kentucky, he's coming Friday next week to talk about the impact of AI on creative work. So this is creating all kinds of challenges for people in the industry. I think 2 years ago, the Hollywood industry, right, the writers and so on and so forth, they protested. They want to strike and so on and so forth. But it's going to continue to move forward. For example, remember, I think earlier this year came out with a test prototype product that will take a picture. All it needs is a picture and the description of a product or service, and it will create the entire promotion campaign, launch it, track it, and apparently they want to only charge you if the sales is improved. And so Russ said he can do AI because AI is now easy to do. But anytime he comes up with an AI service product or AI agent, in a week or two, Meta will come up with a much better version. So that's not where he's going to be able to compete. But he doesn't know yet, even though his business is growing fast, doing really well. Everybody is trying to find out. And so Ashley, how am I doing with time?
We've got about 8 minutes left
8
before
minutes.
questions.
Okay, all right. Before questions, okay.
You've got 18 minutes total.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. You know, I've been a professor for about 3 decades, and probably you don't know. So one of the job hazards in this profession is that you inevitably develop this condition where you have this illusion that the audience actually enjoy listening to you. So I think I'm between stage 3 and stage 4. So I'll try my best. I think the impact of AI, don't think of AI as a technology, but AI is going to become invisible almost. AI is going to become a general purpose technology, like electricity. And think about electricity, right? It just changed, it totally changed the way we operate. And so, for example, in the around 1900 or so, when we switched to electric motors from steam engines, most of the companies in the US at least were focused on fuel cost savings, right? They think, oh my gosh, I can save 40% in fuel costs. That's amazing. But really, the biggest bang for the buck is reconfiguration of existing work. In other words, with electric motors, you don't have to have your machines close to the source of the energy, like your steam engines. You can distribute, right? It's the distribution, decentralized electric power. That is what enabled the true revolution resulting from electric motors. And by the time they realized that, 20, 30 years have passed. And I think 60% of the Dow Jones top companies were dethroned because they were not fast enough. And so we have a more recent example of that, right? You probably know it really well. It's the Kodak, right? So digital film was actually invented by 2 engineers from Kodak, but it was shelved. And you can read about it. And it's just a truly amazing the incumbents. They sometimes, for various reasons, and in the Silicon Valley, I think sometimes now, large IT companies, they buy these startups and put them on the shelf because it just would disrupt their existing business. But new businesses continue to come up, like NVIDIA, right? I mean, who would have thought? I thought about NVIDIA a lot because we were trying to get their technology in 2017 or so, NVIDIA machines, because they were donating their technology. I just didn't buy the stock. That's my mistake. But companies like that continue, like OpenAI, right? complexity, and all these AI companies, we don't know who's going to win. But one of them is going to win big. And, but the biggest win, I think, is going to be by businesses that adopt the technology. And I always have, I've experienced this every time I talk, and that is, I want to know what the audience is thinking. And Ray threatened with some tough questions. So anyway, I will leave it up to you guys for Q&A.
Alrighty, we have a bunch. About a dozen Rotarians this week, even more. I think Colleen took a bunch of pictures that are at Sparks came to the Leadership Louisville luncheon this week, and the topic was AI, and Louisville is right on par with others nationally in that, as we saw evidence from speakers and such. So Mark Twain is really turning over his head.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Angie Bailey. I'm an HR consultant and I coach a lot of job seekers. And there are a lot of us whose jobs have been eliminated, we're getting laid off. What advice do you have for folks that might want to transition into this technology field?
Thank you. And before I answer the question, I want to, I suggest you look it up. Moderna, I think, is the company that has combined IT and HR. So it's one department now, because this is going to be the first generation CEOs that manage both a human workforce and the digital workforce. So I happen to have done some work in technology acceptance, and the largest project was done for the US Army, and technology adoption and acceptance is a treacherous business. And we have to be very, very careful, because eventually, unless you can ask everybody else to go, you just have to have one AI working for you. I think we have to respect our human co-workers. And so communication is critical. And I think if you do decide to adopt technology, training is critical. People, so this is not training, it's not just buying technology and thinking that they would use it. It has to be intentional, and it has to be geared towards what your people know. Say, for example, we're helping GE Appliances create a training program, and so we're going to use their problems, create a solution to those problems, so the audience they can relate and they get excited. And also another important message is to say that you're actually AI is going to help you, right? So what I've been telling people is that AI is going to make you better at what you do. So it's going to take away the mundane, routine, repetitive, sometimes hated tasks, and so that you can focus on more interesting work. So anyway, I have lots to say about that. Share if you want to reach out. I'll be more than happy to have coffee or something. Thank you.
At the risk of pushing you over the edge, I did enjoy your talk. So I'm Steve Rockworth, a retired engineering executive with GE Lighting. And my question, earlier in your presentation, you talked about eavesdropping, technology eavesdropping. What are the rules and constraints on businesses when they employ that technology?
Yes, that's a very, very critical issue, and it can derail your AI project. And I think you have to have guardrails, especially, say, let me give UofL as an example. There are federal laws regarding the release of student information. And we spend a lot of resources guarding that information. But at the same time, we want to adopt an AI advising system, right? So you have to be really careful, because at the same time, you are making it more convenient for students to access resources. But at the same time, you're you're potentially opening up loopholes, right? For people with bad intentions to come inside. So that's really important. And I can't stress enough how important it is. But in general, I just want to say this. I think one of the things against AI is that it's going to take human agency away. But I think it's not exactly what you're talking about, but that I think it's related in that AI, I want you to think about this. I think AI is going to increase human agency. In other words, I'll be able to do a lot more, control my life a lot more than if I didn't have AI. And also related to that is, I don't know if you meant to say that, you're saying you want to push me over the edge. I'm pretty safe here. Another thing I want to say is that any policy that we create should be evidence-based. So at this point, there's very little evidence of how AI is going to be adopted, how the adoption of the AI is going to impact us in general, as a country, as a state, so on and so forth. So it's really, we're at a very critical moment. You can really slow down the development of AI and adoption, and let's say slow down the development of a drug to treat a certain disease. And so it's difficult, but we have to be very careful not to be overzealous. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. I'm Susan Zepeda. I have actually two questions if
Yes.
I can. One is the information space is loaded with what we politely call disinformation.
Yes.
How is AI getting savvier about selectively uptaking the noise out there?
Yes, that's a very tough question, and I don't have a good answer, but I think Plato, Aristotle, that said that when their works were put on the scroll, that was the reigning technology at the time, they were afraid of misinformation being shared, right? They could no longer be in front of an audience and be able to share their thoughts. And of course now we are in dimensions beyond that. I believe in human ingenuity, right? This Hyperion technology right here is an example. And we'll come up with a solution to help with information integrity. And for example, I read the Wall Street Journal almost every day. I almost don't read other social media and avoid it because I cannot trust it. And as that, and this subscription is almost $50 a month. I forgot how much it is. And I could buy 2 decent beers with that kind of subscription. But I think it's worth it. And so that then will become, I think, a strong message to the vendors, right? To the news media. They have to. Of course, they're buyers, and that's what we want too, right? You read different outlets. So I don't have a good answer for you, and probably I will say something that I will regret if I go any further. Yes.
Let me try my second question.
Yes.
What is the workaround for the fact that the federal government has stopped funding mRNA research?
That's, in my personal opinion, I do not represent the university. I think basic research is critical, and the U.S. is where it is today because of the years of basic science research that our government has supported over the last, forever, right? And I would like for that to be continued, and because private businesses, they just don't, there's no incentive, right? Or there's less incentive. So anyway, so that's my answer to your question, and you should elect me as president. Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Nick Garner. I'm lead software developer with Schneider Corporation in the Department for AI and Human-Computer Interaction.
Yes.
My question today is around the data centers that power these AI technology. Because our Rotary zone is no stranger to this. We have one of the largest data centers in the whole world in our zone in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
And in Memphis, Tennessee, around the area of that data center, they have an F rating from the American Lung Association for air quality. They have 4 times the normal cancer rate. The data center itself uses 100,000 residents worth of water every year. We have a data center also coming online in Louisville. I'm excited by investment in Kentucky, but I know that that investment is only a good thing if we demand that companies act as good neighbors. And I agree with you that this change is inevitable, but I also believe that we have a responsibility to shape that change so that it can be a positive benefit for all. So my question to you is, what are the things that we should be demanding of these companies, these data center companies, to make sure that they do act as good neighbors in our communities?
Okay, thank you. It goes beyond my field of expertise, and but I will venture some thoughts. So yes, I'm aware of situations in Oldham County. I think it was voted down, right, eventually. And so yes, there are concerns, and as an individual, I certainly wouldn't want it to be my backyard, sure. And so yes, I think this is becoming an increasingly important issue. I don't have a good answer, but I would say encourage all forms of innovations and technologies to flourish, so that maybe, solar, it's hardly harnessed enough, I think. And nuclear, maybe it's safer, right? I don't know, to be honest with you. And so nuclear development, energy development was stopped for many, many years. Maybe we can revisit that. Again, I'm not an expert in this area, but I do share your concerns. I very much so, and especially when it comes to me and at least with my kids. I don't want to be built near them either. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Guan, Kevin Fields, Club Director, and very interested in the topic that you're discussing with us today. So thank you for giving a great conversation around the use case and the adoption of AI. And my question is in the realm of policy, both from a public policy standpoint and an institutional policy standpoint. A few weeks ago, we were fortunate to have Colin Bird here, Consul General for Canada. He spoke about Canada's national AI strategy that they had adopted and that the government had investigated, and that it was actually centered in 3 post-secondary institutions in the continent of Canada. And from a student perspective, from an educator perspective, we know that there's still not a lot of consensus around the use and the adoption of AI, especially in post-secondary education. So I want to get your thoughts on how that might shake out ultimately. I really like the fact that you're using it in the business school, and that sandbox idea sounds very innovative. You're empowering students to use AI. But in some cases, AI is frowned upon in education, and we don't know what the clear policy is. So I don't know if you can address it from a national perspective, but at least from an institutional perspective, what's your thoughts on how comfortable educators will be in advocating, as you are, around the use of AI?
Thank you. And there happens to be an area that I have a lot of thoughts to share. And I have thought about it, I think about it, I go to bed thinking about it, I wake up thinking about it. And the adoption of AI and its impact on education, post-secondary, you mentioned. I think we should embrace AI. Our higher education model was created in the Industrial Revolution era, where it was modeled. It's an assembly line, right? So your accomplishment, to a very large degree, is related to the amount of time that you have spent on the assembly line, right? And do you have this screw on, and do you have that thing hammered, and so on and so forth. And so when I think we humans, we learn very, very differently. And in fact, one of the things that online that you may see is that we the most important skill is to learn how to learn. And JCPS has adopted AI wholesale. And they have signed a contract with Google Gemini. And so that every teacher, let me talk about that a little. Every teacher can prepare their lessons using AI and create assessments and grade assessments using AI, all consistent with state standards. Very sadly, JCPS demoed it to me. I was very impressed. The next step is to create AI tutors. Kids, they learn differently. They respond to different stimuli. And I think we're not taking care of that. I think his name is Bloomfield. Anyway, so there was a 2 sigma hypothesis saying that if individual tutoring was used, students tend to perform 2 standard deviations above the kids that don't use private tutoring. So yes, I think we should adopt it, and I've been very active in the Business Schools Association. Actually, I'm co-chairing the largest business deans organization in the world, right? So to promote AI, I'll be presenting in Toronto, Canada, of all places, and on that next month.
Just as a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Has the university embraced your leadership?
The university is we've always been doing that, and the university I think is formulating an AI strategy, and so yes, I would say the answer is yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guan. Very interesting and challenging presentation. My name is Rick Martin, longtime Rotarian. And as I was listening, you spoke about significant improvement in some of the public sector activities, such as document retrieval. Yeah, for a lot of us, that makes a great deal of difference to being able to get documents quickly. There are many other areas that I would wonder about. Are there potential applications? Maybe some of your sandbox students would be working on things such as, right now in Louisville, effective implementation of policing. Control is a current issue. Can your students do something about that?
Yes, we actually, I had a meeting with Emily McKinley, Deputy Chief of Police. We were looking into possibly creating a heat map with our students, creating that data model. And so that's one. But also, the city, I think, is pro-technology, pro-AI. The mayor just unveiled an AI strategy at the lunch earlier this week. And they're hiring a chief AI officer, which is, I think, a great move. And also, they just acquired drones from Skydio, which is the largest drone company in the U.S. And I know because my son-in-law works for the company. And, but also, they're using a voice recognition AI-enabled technology along with the drones so that they can respond much faster. That you can detect the gunshots, and the drone then will lead law enforcement over there to respond as quickly as possible. So yes, I think cities are doing that.
Hello, thanks for being here. Hi, Jay Malcolm, Executive Vice President of English West. I'll try to lead it to maybe a fun or scary. Final question.
Yes.
We all thought the movie Terminator.
Yeah.
It was very far-fetched, right? Can you talk a little bit about AI and singularity?
Yes. Yes. So thank you. I think there will be the talk being complete without talking about doing the bloom a little bit. And so I think ChatGPT 5 was released last month, I think August, right? And so ChatGPT 5 has the IQ about 145 or so. 145 is pretty scary smart. And so one of our former PhD students, Michael Rocky, he is working on a research model to capture the impact of polymaths. Okay, polymath is someone who understands several different topics very deeply, and so this is coming. AI is smarter than us. So, and they use the term singularities because beyond that point, we can't predict. We can't even begin to think of it. What if AI is smarter? How would you predict its next move? Right? That's essentially the contention. I haven't given it much thought because I know that resistance would be futile at that point. But then of course, I think the more likely scenario probably is like as depicted in Star Trek, right? Like the engineer Geordi, I think that's his name. And he would diagnose problems, spaceship problems, by conversing with AI. Now imagine if a UofL scientist working in the lab, getting results, and talking to the AI, say, hey, I'm getting this particular result. What do you think? What am I missing? Why is the result different than what I expected? You know my hypotheses, right? You know the stuff that I have done in the past. So that's a more likely scenario. And also, a more practical scenario is an AI taking out my trash on a cold February morning. And but that's what I want to leave everybody with. But maybe there's some of that, some truth in that, but I don't think it's likely.
Thank you, Dr. Jeff. Hope you have our appreciation before Wax has to on the back, so you'll never forget. Next week's our first fall meeting. First day of fall is Monday, and Barbara's going to tell us why we should be here.
All right, thank you so much, President Ken. And Dr. Jeff, thank you. I'm a proud graduate of the College of Business in the 70s. And to listen to you speak today from the platform from which you spoke and to get to sit at that table, I'm so excited I can't see straight because I was that kid in computer class as a freshman that was being taught BASIC. I don't even know what that was. And then they wanted to talk about Fortran. I had no idea what that was. And then lastly, I got home and my engineer father said, I have a present. You're going to be an A student. I said, what is it? He said, it's a Texas Instrument. Holy smokes. It had so many buttons on it, I just put it back in the box. And then there's me. So thank you for leading the way at the university. My job as your president-elect, fellow Rotarians, and distinguished and honored guests is to thread a tale or to build a bridge from one week to the next and try to make it make some kind of common sense. Next week's speaker is a graduate of the University of Louisville. And there's more. Ready? Next week's speaker has an entire center that has a global recognition named after that speaker. I'm trying to build suspense into this. Is it okay? All right. Okay, so then I'm trying to think about what would next week's speaker bring to us that maybe we might not think, Henry, that the speaker's going to bring. And I'm going to put forth my opinion here. I think they're going to talk about integrated negotiation. Yes, I do. I learned about that at the College of Business because that's all about how you make the pie bigger. Because if you can make the pie bigger when you're different in opinions and you come from different sides of the aisle in the world of politics on which this great nation operates from, if you can learn to look across that aisle and build on the differences, you do build a bigger pie. And theoretically, if you got a bigger pie, your little piece is going to be that much bigger. Right, Dr. Jeff? Does that somehow make sense? Lastly, I have something really close personally in common with next week's speaker. I too was an elected official at one point, but more importantly, I got married on the same day of the year that next week's speaker was born on. Okay, now, he was born on February 20th of 1942 or 5. That would be none other than Addison Mitchell McConnell. goes by Mitch the Third. All right, so at the McConnell Center, Graham is named after Senator Mitch McConnell. He is the longest serving state senator in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I am so proud and so excited. President Ken, he's going to be standing right here, talking with us and also taking our questions in a different format. The questions, fellow Rotarians, send them into Ashley Brower. Ashley, raise your hand. Okay, send your questions this week to Ashley. She will help. Scan the code, register for the meeting. I know we're going to have a packed house, and we're right here next week. President Ken, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Barbara. Hope to see you all next week. Bring a guest. Enjoy the weekend that you're going to the UK UofL volleyball game tonight. That'll be fun. Or the Cards game Saturday. If you want to learn more about Rotary for our new members, Jeff Underhill is back there to talk about it. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.